Good morning, everyone. So today, April 17th, this is going to be the final video. We made it. We've completed the semester, and I just want to say congratulations to everyone. I know that you guys have been working really hard. The database projects and all the Java assignments and the calculator assignment, you guys were able to get those done under difficult circumstances. So I feel really good about the work that we've done. So today's video, I'm going to go through and do a few sample questions just as prep for the JavaScript exam. So I've got my daily question generator, so I can pick a question off of that and do that, and I can also pick a question off of the 5 review questions. Now, the JavaScript exam is going to be very straightforward, okay? Essentially, I'm going to have 5 questions that are similar style questions to what we do on the labs. They each take about, roughly no more than half an hour, I would say, to do. And you have 3 hours to do them. Those questions will be posted on D2L, and when the exam starts, you will download those questions, you'll complete them, and then upload them to the Dropbox, and that should be it. So really, really straightforward test. If you do the review questions, I think that'll be good preparation for the exam. All right. Now, the other thing you might have noticed, you received an email recently, and there's been talk about what's going to happen with the work terms. So in the email, there's a new course called CP4472, and this is going to basically be a workplace prep course, and it'll be done in place of the upcoming work term. Now, you also will notice on the email you were given, there is an option for you to potentially defer, so not take CP4472, and instead wait till things at the school get back to normal, and then get a work term placement later on down the road. So those are the 2 options. Now, so I'm going to be available to answer any questions. If you have any questions, please email me, let me know. I'm hoping that everyone will take the CP4472 course. I will be teaching this course, and I'm very excited about it. Obviously, missing out on a work term is not the best thing, but keep in mind, you guys are first-year students, so you will have many opportunities for work terms coming up down the road. One of the primary benefits, in my opinion, of work terms is it allows you to sync up with an employer that you might consider working for when you graduate. Well, considering that we've just completed our second semester in the program, there's still lots of time to sync up with employers and get ready to graduate. So with the CP4472 course, I'm hoping to really take advantage of this opportunity and guide you through creating some programming portfolio pieces. So these would be pieces that when you do graduate, you can go to an employer and you can show them, here's something that I've created, I've worked on, maybe in a group or maybe individually, as kind of a side project, okay? And we're gonna look at skills like GitHub and using version control to basically create these projects. So I think that there will be a lot of benefit to this course that I'm gonna be doing. So I hope that I see you guys in this course. But please, if you do have any questions, you can reach me through email. I may not have the answer, but I can certainly put you in touch with the correct answer. All right, well, let's get started on some JavaScript then. All right, so on the D2L shell here, if I want to grab the review exercises, I'm going to go into Content, and I'll download the exam review questions, and I will download the exercise starters. All right, so I'm thinking I'm gonna do exercise 5 today. One of the last things that we learned in the course was how to use timers, and they're a really valuable tool that you can create some neat special effects with, or effects on your browser. All right, so C zipped folder ex5, create a slideshow using the images in the image folder, preload all images, modify both the image in the HTML and the H2 caption, add a button to the document which will start and stop the slideshow. All right. All right, so here we go, exercise 5. I'll open this up in brackets. Just gonna close these other ones here so I don't confuse what I'm looking at. Oops. Okay, there we go. So we do have, there is a JavaScript file that's linked in, but we don't see that in the folder. So I'm gonna go create this file. It's called slideshow.js. So file, new, and I'm gonna save this as, okay, just finding my way around here. Okay, exercise 5, and I'm gonna save this as slideshow. Okay, .js, there we go. That's good. Okay, and of course I always like to do this just kind of for sanity, but I'll just do a window.onLoad equals function, and I'm just gonna go console.log, just so that I know that, and I'll make sure I save it, of course. And now when I launch my page, I know that the JavaScript is properly linked to the document. Okay, so hit F12, and there we go, all right? So that's obviously, I mean, it seems like a silly small step that you can easily skip, but remember, when you're doing a test, you don't want to go too many steps forward before you test and make sure that what you're doing is correct. I could have easily accidentally put that JavaScript in the wrong directory, and then it wouldn't be connected. All right, so once I've done that, I'm going to need to preload my images. Let's see here. That is asking me, okay, so it wants me to preload the images. Actually, let's create the slideshow first. Create the slideshow first. We'll do this in order. Preloading the images, you don't have to do it to make the slideshow work. It's an optimization that is suggested. All right. Okay, so here's the names of the images here. So we have bison, deer, hero, and release. And these images are of type, I'm guessing that these are JPEG. Okay. All right, so in my window, I've got my window on load. Obviously, the next thing I'm gonna need is my $sign function. So var $sign equals function ID, return document.get element by ID, ID. Okay, there we go. And because I like doing things in steps, probably the first thing I want to be able to do with this question is to be able to modify the actual image that's displayed. So right now, if I look at my image right here, it's using the image release.jpg. So it grabs the image and it sets the source attribute to images/release.jpg. And that would be the image there that's displayed. So let's just do a quick selector that when we load the page, will flip that image to a different one. Okay, so the ID here is image. So I'm gonna grab that element by ID, and then I'm going to set its attribute source to, I'll say the bison image, for example. Okay, so $sign image. Can I do that? Can I go .source because it's an image? Let's try that. .source equals images/bison.jpg. All right, so let's try that out. There we go, it worked. Okay, so it was able to switch that. And of course, if I want to verify that, I can go into my HTML and I can see here that the image is now the bison one because I've done some DOM manipulation. Now, keep in mind, I use the DOM HTML specification because that's more efficient to set the source. I could have also done it this way. Could have gone dot set attribute, and the name of the attribute is source, and the value would be images bison.jpg. This will work as well. Okay, so it does that as well. Now, just for sanity, I will change the image here just to show that it works with both. Let's change it to deer. All right, and yeah, there we go. Okay, so it's displaying the deer image there. Okay, so at this point, I now need to set up. The function that's going to rotate the images to do the slideshow. So there's several ways that we can do it. We could, for example, look at the HTML. Probably the easiest way would be to look at the image list here, because these images are basically pre-cached or basically hidden right here inside an image list. And because they're set up that way, I could potentially loop through all the children in the image list. And that's probably the best way to do this. The other one would be to copy the names of each of the 4 images, put them into array, and then loop through the array when I want to do the slideshow. So those are the 2 ways you can do it. So I'm going to show you the slightly fancier way here, where we're going to get the image list, and then we're going to loop through the children continuously. So to do that, I am going to need to create, I'm going to create a variable, which is, okay, so I'm going to, to plan this out, I need to create a variable that's going to represent the current list element. And this is going to be one of the 4 list elements inside the unordered list. And then I'm going to set that to the first list element in the list, okay? And then I'm going to have a function that is going to show the next image. And what that function will do is it'll move from the first list element to the next one. It'll then grab the link inside it, and it'll get the URL for that link. And the URL is going to correspond to the image. Then it'll take that text and it'll set that as the image's source. Okay, so let's set that up. So I need a variable var current list element. Okay, and I will set that when, obviously I can't set it at this point because the document isn't loaded. It has to be done inside window on load. So I'm going to say current list element equals $. Okay, so current list element $, and the actual list itself is called image_list. All right, and I want then dot first child. So when I go first child, that's going to get me the list element, and then I want to get the first child of that, which will contain the link. All right, and dot. Okay, no, I just want to get the first child. That's all I need. That's all I need. Okay, so I have that, and now I could keep going, but I'm scared that if I made a mistake here, I'm going to run into trouble. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to grab the actual text from this. So I'm going to say let image source equal current list element dot first child dot source. and then let's console.log image source. All right, here we go. Oh, okay, there we go. It did not like that. Did not like that. Okay, so one of the issues I'm having is it's returning, I'm expecting it to return just the list elements, but there's also text elements that are included, which is messing things up. So I'm gonna change my strategy here. I'm going to create a new variable called var, and this is going to be my link array. So this is going to be an array containing the 4 links. So what I can do is I can come in here and I'm going to say link array equals $image list dot get elements. Now this case I'm going to use get elements by tag name. Now I haven't demonstrated this one that much really, but it returns a list or an array of elements with the given tag name. The subtree underneath the specified element is searched. So if I look at my HTML, I have the image list, which is an unordered list. It's going to search the subtree and it's going to return the 4 link elements. So this is a really nice way of grabbing those elements without having to do a lot of traversal to move up and down the tree using like first child or next element sibling. This is a very nice way to do it. So okay, so it's by tag name and the tag is A. So I want link elements and there we go. I've got my link array. So now what I can do is instead of creating a current list element variable, I'm going to create a current link index. So this is the current position in the array. So I'm going to start it at 0 because I'm going to start with the first image. I'm going to increment to 1, then 2, then 3. And then, because I'm at the end, there's only 4 of them, I then move back to 0. So, okay. All right, here we go. So, link array. All right. So what I can do, I can go ahead now and I'll set it to one of these link array variables. So I'm going to set the source. So I grab the image just to test that it works. And I'm going to go source equals link array. Let's pick the second one. And okay, there we go. So I'm grabbing the URL from the element at element 2 in the link array. And let's see here which one's at element 2. That's going to be the hero image. And yeah, we can hover over and see what it is. Okay, it's the person, they just caught a fish, they're holding their net, and there we go. Okay, so that worked. All right, so next up I'm now going to now have the ability to grab the URLs from the links. So the next thing I now need to do is to basically set up my function that's going to move to the next image. So I'm going to create a function expression. So var move to next image equals function. All right, so I can now basically say current link index. Okay, I'm going to increment it by 1. And then I'm going to say current link index. Okay, I'm going to take the remainder if I divide it by the number of elements in the array. That way I will reset. When I get to the end of the array, I'll reset back to position 0. So mod equals link array dot length. And now I can go and I'm going to do my code here that's going to set the image source. So instead of a hard-coded 2 value, I'm going to say current link index dot href. And that is all I need to do there. All right. So at this point, I can now set up my timer. So basically, I'm going to say var interval timer equals set timeout. And the first parameter is my function expression. So move to next image. And the other one is my interval, which I'm going to say is 1,000 milliseconds or 1 second. So at this point, if I fire this up, it should switch images. It should switch images. Okay, so something is not right here. So set interval timer, set timeout, move to next image. Interesting, okay. Well, I can console log it just to see that the timer is being called. And I'll make sure I save that. Okay. Weird. Okay, so I used the wrong kind of timer. So I went set timeout, so it only calls it one time. So I want set interval. There we go, set interval. Set timeout is a one-time timer. Set interval is a repeating timer. So here we go. Now it's gonna go every second. Okay. So we've got that part working, and there's other ways you could do it. That was kind of a fancy way to do it, but you can see the benefit. Look at how much code I have there, right? By grabbing those elements by their tag name, I'm able to then very easily move through the array. The other options you would have is to cache one of the links and then write some traversal code like .next element sibling, .first child to get at each of the links. So you're gonna end up writing more code, and it could easily break. The other one would be to hard code, to look at your actual HTML and say, okay, here's the 4 names of the images, create an array with those 4. That's a really simple way to do it. Not very impressive, but it will work. So that would be another option. All right, so at this point, I can now go and I should really pre-cache my images. So I'm gonna write my function that's going to cache the images. Okay, and all I need to do is loop through my link array. So for let I equals 0, I less than link array dot length. All right. And inside here, I'm going to now basically grab each of the URLs and create a new image. So image, and then it's link array I. Okay, I think that's right. I think that's right. Now I should really go. I should really go and review what's in the book to make sure that this is the actual correct way of doing that. Okay, I'm gonna go check the book right now just to make sure. Okay, so I got the book here. So what I have is very similar to what the book shows. What they do is they go image equals new image, and they don't provide it any parameters, and then they go image.source equals link array I. Okay. Link array I dot href. Okay, so the whole idea there is that that's going to load all the images. Well, it won't do it yet because I haven't called the function. But essentially, you're going to load all the images when you first load the document. And then when you go to use them, they're already going to be in memory. So you don't have to retrieve them from disk, which is going to be a big slowdown. Your computer's going to kind of stutter. So this is the preferred way to do it. Now, these images that they're showing us are very small. So it's hard to say if it would actually, make a huge difference. But if it does have to grab them from disk, that is a slow operation. So I will add this call here, cache images. Okay, I'll just make sure I didn't break anything. I did. Slideshow 11, line 11, image equals new image. Okay, one sec. Let's just see what they do wrong here. Okay, so I can't, with just my syntax here, it's not image, I should just say var. Or let, but okay. So var image equals new image, image.source. Okay, it doesn't like my link array dot length. That's because the link array hasn't been defined. I need to create the link array first and then call cache images. Okay, there we go. Everything's working now? All right. Okay, so I think the next step I need to now, so I modified the image. I also have to modify the caption. So there's also a caption that goes with the image. If we notice on the page, we have a caption at the bottom. That needs to be updated to say what the actual image being displayed is. So let's take care of this. If I look at my HTML, you'll notice there's a title attribute that goes with each of the links. So that's what I'm going to use to grab my caption. And I have a header too that has an ID of caption right here. So this should be pretty easy to do. So I'm going to go $caption dot title equals, sorry, not title, caption dot first child dot node value, because it's a text element that's attached to the header. So I've got that, and that is going to be equal to link array current link index dot title. Okay, so let's check that out. There we go. So now we see that the header 2 is updating its caption for each of the images. Okay, so the last thing is now to add a button to my HTML that is going to start and stop the slideshow. So to do that, I have to modify the HTML a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna go button. Okay, so type. Okay, so I don't want a submit button or reset button. I just want a regular button. And I want the text. Let's see if I can just say start, stop. Okay, let's just see if that, I might have to go do a bit of research. Okay, there we go. There's my start stop button. I mean, it'd be a little bit nicer if I did some formatting, okay, centered it, etc. But that's fine for now. I've got my button there. Now, okay, it does say start and stop. Now I'm going to give the button an ID, just so it makes it easier for me to select. Okay, I'm going to call it toggle button. So now in my slideshow, I'm going to create another function. So var toggle slideshow. Right, and for the toggle slideshow, I want to see here. Okay, so I have a variable here called interval timer, and that is going to be the value that represents whether the timer, whether the timer is running. And I can use that variable to cancel the timer. So I'm going to do a check here. I'm going to say if interval timer is not equal to null. In this case, if it's not equal to null, I want to stop the timer. So there is a function to stop the timer. Okay, I got to consult the book here. I can't remember the function. The function to stop a timer. Clear timeout. Clear timeout. Okay. So clear timeout, and I'm going to pass it interval, the interval timer variable. Okay. Now here's the key thing though. I'm also going to set interval timer equals null. This way I can visually see that the timer has been turned off. So if it's, yeah, there we go. I'm just going to cancel it. Else, I am going to then start the timer. So I'm going to say interval timer equals set interval for every second. Now this variable, var interval timer, I'm going to make this explicitly global. So I'm going to place this up here. Okay, so I've got that all set up. Now all that's left is I need to hook up the toggle slideshow. So I'm going to go $. I can't remember the ID. Was it toggle button? Yes, it was. Toggle button dot on click equals toggle slideshow. Okay, so let's try running this. So right now, okay, it is going. That's okay. I'll stop it. There we go. It stops, and now I'll start it up. There we go. It starts up. Now, the only thing that kind of remains here is the start-stop button. The text says start or stop, but it should say one of those based on whether or not the timer is running or not. So let's make that change right now. So that's a very easy change to make. All I do is grab the toggle button, and if the timer has been stopped, I'm going to say toggle button dot first child dot node value equals start, because you press the button to start it. And if the timer is running, I'm going to set it to stop. Okay, except I didn't do it. Okay, hold on. Okay, so let's okay. Instead of setting, see, I'm setting this interval timer at the bottom. I'm just going to call toggle slideshow instead. Okay, now the code's going to run through here, and it'll correctly set the text on the button. So there we go. It says stop. I can stop it. Now it says start. Okay, looks good. Looks good. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done this exercise. So let's move on now. So let's just do one daily review question. So if I go to my final exam review, I have my daily practice exercise. And I'm going to extract this. Okay, so I'm going to generate a question, then we'll do this question. Okay, so I have book 6-3 is the question I'm going to do. All right. So let's go to our labs, and this would have come from maybe lab 6. No, lab 5 then. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to download these. I got my book handy. Okay, so this is a pretty simple one. It looks like we're just doing some data validation on a form, but I don't think I've reviewed this recently, so I think this is a good exercise to do. All right, so I've got my exercises. I'm going to extract this. And the exercise here is email. Okay, so this is it right here. I have 2 email addresses, and I have a first name. So let's see what the instructions say. It says open this up, test it out, review the JavaScript code. Okay, so right now it's using alerts to prompt us if there's an error condition. So I'm going to open this stuff up in brackets. All right. Okay, so we can see here that we grab the button join list, and for on click, we run this function expression join list. And this is going to go through and it's going to get the 3 text box values, and then it's going to do some validation. If there's an issue, it's then going to create an error message and display that error message in an alert. Okay, so we've taken a look at that. Number 2 says test the application with valid data to see how it works. Okay, let's do that. So if I enter in just any text, okay, the email address is matched and I've entered a first name, and then it's going to submit the form. Now, if I were to omit one thing, or if I were to make a difference there, the email addresses there don't match, it won't submit the form. All right, number 3 is tested with okay, so we've tested with valid data, we've tested with invalid data. Now we get to do the actual work here. So we're going to enhance the data validation. So part 4 says review the HTML and notice the span elements. So when we look at the HTML, we have several span elements. These contain the asterisk text elements as children. Okay. Also notice these span elements don't have IDs. When you enhance the data validation, these elements should receive your error messages. So they're giving us a hint. They don't want us to go and add IDs. They want us to use document traversal methods to be able to get to the span elements and modify the asterisks. All right. So question 5 says enhance the data validation so it displays the error messages in the span elements. For this to work, you will need to code the data validation for each entry in a separate if statement. So when we look at the JavaScript here, they're using a big if-else if statement. In other words, they're only going to generate one error message. And that works because you can only show one prompt. But now we have 3 span elements. So we have 3 separate opportunities for error messages. So we want to not use a big if-else if. We want to have 3 separate if statements to handle each of the span elements. Okay, use a Boolean variable to keep track of whether any entries are valid. Then if all the entries are valid, you can submit the form. Okay, so we can go ahead and do this. All right. So basically what I want to do is I'm going to create instead of an error message, I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to call this form entries okay. And I'm going to say true. And then I'm going to test. I'm going to say if email address 1 equals is empty, okay, then I'm going to come in and I'm going to set an error message for that email address. Okay, and then I'll do a separate one. So I'm getting rid of these else conditions. If email address 2 is empty, then I'm going to handle that. Okay, next up I'm going to say if the email addresses are not the same, then I am going to handle that situation. Now the only thing here is that I only want to worry about the email addresses matching if they've both been entered. If one of the email addresses hasn't been entered, I don't want to show that error message. So what I will do is I will use my form elements okay variable. So I will say if form elements okay and the elements don't match. So in other words, they've entered both. And I'm gonna start using this form elements okay to say it's false. All right, so I've got that set up. And I will also say form elements equals false here. Okay, and then if first name is empty, I also need to handle that case separately. So I get rid of the else if, and form entries okay is false there. All right. So for submitting the form, I'm not going to use this error message variable anymore. I'm going to say if form entry is okay, I submit it. Otherwise, I don't, but I don't need to actually handle that case because I'll be displaying the errors in the span elements. So now, the last thing I need to do is go through, and for each of these error messages, I'm going to set the span rather than using this specific error message. So I'll comment these out. And let's see how I would get those spans. So for the first one, we have a input type of text, and it has an ID of email address 1. So I'm going to use that ID to get the input text box. Then I'm going to go next element sibling to get the span. Then I'm going to go .firstChild to get the text element, which is a child of the span. And then I'm going to use node value to access the actual text value. So here we go. So $, email address 1, dot, email address 1, okay, I got that, dot, next element sibling, dot first child, dot node value equals, and I'm going to say it's equal to first email address entry required. Okay, let's just try that out. Okay, there we go. It worked right away. So we just need to do the same thing now with the other ones. So email address, I'll just grab this and I can make a small change here. So the ID is email address 2 and it's going to say second. Okay. And when I come into this one where it says if the entries are not the same, I'm going to use, I mean, you could do it anyway. You could put the error message in both, or you could put the error messages in only one of them. So I'm going to say email address 1 dot node value equals email addresses must match. Okay. And then the last one is going to be for the first name. Let's look at what the ID is. So the ID is first underscore name. Okay, and then I'll just put in the error message. Okay, first name entry required. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So let's just run this. So if right there we go. We get our error messages. And if I enter something in, okay, so the one thing that we're noticing is the error messages aren't resetting. So even though it displays the error messages correctly, if you go and make a fix, and you might still have one error messages, they don't reset. So I need to fix that. So I need an else now. And I'm going to reset these back to the asterisk. Okay, now you'll notice I didn't reset one for the email addresses must match, okay? And the reason is that I'm already resetting them above. So if something has been entered, it'll get reset to the asterisk, and only if they aren't the same will it get set to the email address. So I don't need to do that for this case. Okay, so I put something in. Okay, we get some errors. Okay, it removes the one error. And then if I make some more mistakes, okay, so it looks pretty good. And then of course, if I do put in the correct entry, it'll submit the form. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much that pretty much takes care of that exercise. Okay, so I'm gonna conclude that video there. What I recommend you guys do: make sure you've done all 5 of the review questions for the exam. And if you're done that and looking for some more studying, go back and do a few of the questions and think about, okay, what are the different ways I can tackle this problem? For example, when I set up that timer for the images to do the slideshow, there were really at least 3 ways that popped into my head right away that I could try doing that problem. So go back and think about a way that maybe you wouldn't try because it's maybe a little bit too difficult, or it's not something that you've practiced before, and try setting it up a different way and seeing if you can make it work that way. And then in addition to that, if you've done all of the review questions, I recommend going in and using my random question generator. If you just do a couple questions a day, that's only going to take an hour. Do that over the weekend, and that's some good prep for the exam as well. Okay, well, I hope everyone's having a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Remember, we do have the exam on Monday, so hopefully good luck. I wish you guys good luck on all your exams, and I'll see you for the exam on Monday. Okay, bye.